Alright, I know a few of you guys are going to be pretty confused by the thumbnail and title. This is going to be a very different video that I make today. Also, for a minute, let's just fucking appreciate the good weather we've been having recently, you feel me? You know, daylight savings and all that shit. You know, I don't know if it is done or if it started. I don't know. All I know is that the hour got pushed ahead. So that means that we're having longer, you know, like daylight, you feel me? So I guess daylight savings is over because we're having more daylight, right? I think that's how it works. I don't really know. I had this idea to make this video because, as you guys know, this channel, I will make videos about whatever I want, all right? And I want to establish that now. I've made videos fucking talking about anime, talking about fucking motivational shit and manifestation. You know, I even fucking recorded a Minecraft video from my phone on this channel. I will make a video on anything, and this is no different. All right, this is gonna be a video of me analyzing a story that I wrote in freshman year of high school, right? And I kind of just had it just in my life over the course of time that, you know, that it's been a thing. I don't know that I'll ever finish this story, if I plan to or whatever the case may be on that. I got pretty far into it and I know how the story ends. It would just be a you know, a thing of writing the ending, and I've done like a multitude of different things with this story. Like I've thought of fucking making a comic out of it. I tried like doing like a little audio book with it. I've done a multitude of things with this story, and I figured, you know what, I may as well incorporate it into this in some way, shape, or form. At one point, I was thinking about making a whole other channel for it, but honestly, fuck that. I'm gonna just do it on here, right? Now, as far as the thumbnail goes, for one, I did it like that because I don't really know how else to get a captivating thumbnail for a video like this, because I'm gonna be screen recording on my phone and just reading along and kind of just like talking about the story as I go, right? And you know, for instance, on the story in general, a lot of my inspiration came from Vinland Saga, right? So it's very like edgy while also trying to be meaningful, you know? So there's a lot of parts in the story that aren't gonna make sense and that like have interesting ideas but maybe aren't executed in the best way possible. Look, I'm not a fucking amazing writer. I just made a story that I was writing during poetry class because I hated that class, and if I was gonna write something, I may as well write where I want to write and not some fucking bullshit, right? I hate poetry. I hate writing poetry. I don't hate poetry, but I hate writing that shit. And that was the catalyst for why I even started writing this story to begin with. But yeah, and I mean, shit, when it comes to like the thumbnail in general, why I said Kagurabachi stole my idea or copied my story, quite genuinely, I feel like they did a little bit. Not me being serious, but like, shit, I may as well be, all right? I drew, like, you know, the main character from my story, Klover, before, right? Way before Kagurabachi ever came out, okay? And not too long after, right, Kagurabachi comes out, you know, and with the whole enough time has passed, bro, immediately I seen it. It looks like my first design of Klover, right? Like at the beginning of the story, same trench coat, like holding the sword. They even had the same fucking pose, right? Like there's a photo where like fucking, I don't even know the guy's name from Kagurabachi, the main character, but he's like got him from a top angle holding a sword. Bro, I literally just edited that shit and it looks just like Klover, right? Like damn near no difference at all. So you feel me? Like, you know, I've been saying this, bro, but like, and shit, a lot of motherfuckers be copying my story. It be seeming like a lot of these stories just be ripping off my shit, right? But like, generally, I have a lot of like basic ass ideas that, you know, kind of cross over into other shit. But sometimes I just be like, you know, this reminds me of my story, cause shit be reminding me of my story, right? What can I say? All right. So yeah, but that's kind of all I gotta say. I don't know how I'm gonna fucking promote my video for the next thing, because I know I'm gonna do it again for, you know, the next chapter. And the next chapter I'm gonna maybe even fucking keep writing the story if this fucking series does well. But only time will tell. And yeah, I'm gonna just get straight to it. So yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna just get straight into it, man. Chapter 1: Klover's Path. A man named Klover had been chasing a young boy, Julius, through the underground city of a land they called Jomsgrills. Illegal deals, trades, and plenty other immoral practices were built up within this underground, which had been slowly formed within the country over the years. Community of criminals. So essentially with this, I'm gonna get annoyed by this shit coming up. I can just tell already. But with this first part, I'll be honest, guys, I edited like this first chapter a ton of different times. This whole first part was not included for a long while, where I was talking about this underground and shit. I kind of just came up with that shit out of nowhere, because I was like, I felt like I had to give John's Grills a little bit of lore, you know, like why was Klover chasing this kid, you know, like I wanted to like make a little bit more sense, because like I knew like initially when I first wrote it, like this was always a part of the story, like what's about to be read soon, you know. But I wanted to give it like some kind of context, because I knew I wanted to like start off with action and like some kind of shock factor, but like I had to give it some kind of substance. So I was like, yeah, let's just throw in some little shit. And I mean, it makes sense, it fits, I guess, you know, like you'll see as we read through, but I'm gonna continue. Klover had been chasing Julius all throughout this underground city, and for whatever reason, he and the boy found themselves in an open meadow. And in contrast to the situation they were in, the morning sky was bright and colorful. Now, when I said Klover had been chasing, I will say a lot of the shit, like when I write it a certain way, I wrote it that way mainly just to kind of like get, you know, different like vocabulary in there. But like Klover wasn't literally chasing this nigga, right? He was more so just like following him through the meadow. He already kind of cut him, right? As we're gonna see as I continue reading, bro. Like he was just following Julius around, right? And just honestly like walking him down like Yuji when he was in his fight against fucking Mahito. Like just imagine that essentially. Like just think of that scene as we read through this. But Klover clearly hadn't been that way for a very long time. As he pursued Julius, he had a miserable looking expression on his face, almost as if he were bored. Now, I will say I actually like drew a little manga panel for this like part in particular. I genuinely for a time I was gonna draw like a manga for this whole story, but honestly I gave up on that shit, bro, because that shit takes a lot of time, and I was just like, man, I don't got time for all this shit. I want to be doing other things other than just drawing my fucking story that I wrote, and it's probably not gonna do very well anyway. He advanced towards the trembling child, Julius. When the boy turned to look at Klover for a moment, you could see a slight cut on his face already. Klover spoke as he continued to give chase. Look, kid, he paced himself. Let's end this before it needs to get any worse. Where the hell is my money? I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have to fucking like get used to giving these people voices and shit, right? I remember when I initially was first writing this story, I wanted the people from Jomsgrills to be like British, but that didn't really last for very long. Like sometimes they'd have like certain vernacular and like vocabulary and, you know, tonality and fucking dialect. That's the word I was looking for. They had certain dialects that was just like not very normal. And in general too, this whole like story is very fantasy. Like there's a lot of shit, like as you'll see later in the story, bro, like there's people with guns, but like it like in this country that they're in, and honestly like most of the world, it's like based around like swords and like other like weapons and shit, like, you know, Stone Age type shit or like medieval, like there's, you know, but like for some reason there's just one country that just figured out how to make guns, and they're like the only ones. I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. The man I ordered you to kill is still alive. You locals clearly have no knack for business. He paused. That man should have been long gone. The least you can do is relinquish the payment I've lent you, Julius. Why did I just read that like I'm AI, bro? I need to tighten up. That was bad, I'm not gonna lie. The wind blew through his short dark hair as he spoke, his trench coat slightly swaying as well, layered atop his casual monochrome clothes. When I did like this, like describing the characters, I don't really do this very often. I only did this just so I could like kind of describe some of the important characters and like give an idea of what they look like. I drew some of them. Some I lost the photos of, some I still have. But it's like, I'm very inconsistent when it comes to actually describing how these characters look. A lot of the time you just gotta kind of think up some shit on the fly in your head and just figure that shit the fuck out. The child visibly began to slow down as he ran, and Klover spent no time thinking on his next move. Once he got close enough, he slashed the boy across the back with his blade. Ah! Julius cried. If not for him being an extra inch away, Julius had have surely died from the attack. He struggled on the soiled He struggled on the soiled grassland before slowly turning on his back, finally facing Klover. Please, you don't have to do this, Julius stammered, his voice quivering and choked with tears. He tried to speak to avoid escalation, but his words constantly stumbled over one another. He attempted to reclaim his breath as he gripped onto his chest. Julius struggling to hold back the blood beginning to brew in his mouth. Klover relentlessly continues without a hitch. You are clearly far too spoiled. When you're given a job, you handle it. Simple. When you fail, you cough up what remains. That's how the underground works. You don't cheat it. You don't cheat me, Julius. Klover gripped tightly on his sword's handle as he continued. Allow me to lay down a little bit of truth. You see, my father died when I was very young. Hell, maybe even before I was born into this world. I'm not sure. He never yeah. I'm sorry, guys. This voice acting is going to get very inconsistent. He never left behind a life for me worth desiring. I had to take my opportunities and make them count. You have never had that burden, Julius. Your incompetence is a blemish. It needs to be wiped. You may have been able to fuck over the rest of these other debt collectors or mercenaries or whoever else in the underground you've been dealing with all this time, but your luck's run out with me. I certainly do not take stolen royalties lightly, child. Julius had enough courage to look Klover in the eyes as he spoke, or maybe it was simply fear that told him avoiding Klover's gaze would mean a sentence, but it's not like it mattered anyway. Klover started once again. You've got to pay with something. Klover sighed. You should know at least that much by now. A smirk grew a bit on Klover's face as he continued. So, Klover's about to kill some shit, man. It's about to get bad. As you can see here, he clearly enjoys what he's doing. Klover chuckled, and his laughter held a bitter edge with it, not from guilt, but from the frustration of beginning his day with such a hassle. All before once again paying heed to his blade. As he drew his sword, Julius quivered, moving further and further from him. We've been at this for so long, a leg or two just won't do. It's the principle of what you've done here that's striking to me. Because if you do it once, you'll most certainly do it again. And I just can't have that, can I, Julius? Making promises you can't keep was your first and last mistake. Julius began sobbing harshly. Klover noticed this and started. The fuck is wrong with you? Do you expect pity? How about instead of crying, you get up and fight for something, huh? Julius sat there, continuing to crawl away. He's essentially backpedaling right now, shaking his head no to himself as he kept his eyes on Klover. This country has no use for the thieves of trade like you. Whether you can pay me or not has long been derailed from my concerns. If I want someone killed, from here on, I'll do it myself. Klover raises his sword as Julius gradually looks up with wide eyes. The boy's tears flooded his vision as they flowed from the crease of his eyelid down to his chin. Realizing it was too late for him to get out of the situation he found himself in, he turned to the only solution he could think of. The boy scrambled, yelling at the top of his lungs for someone to come and save him. Someone! Anyone! Help me! He yelled as his voice cracked. Klover slowly followed as Julius mustered up the strength he could to run, whimpering in fear. Klover almost chuckled again as a grin formed on his lips. Pathetic. Klover impales Julius through his heart, and the child's eyes grew lifeless. Klover looted this corpse. Once he walked off in the direction he came, he shook his head in disappointment. Can't survive in this world if you aren't ready to spill some blood, Klover thought to himself. Essentially, with this whole first part that I've written here, this just establishes who Klover is at a base level, right? We get like a general idea of who he is. Fucking cocky asshole who is very tyrannical and very stubborn in whatever ideals and, you know, fucking, I guess, principles and morals that he holds, right? Clearly he's willing to kill a fucking child over whatever, right? Like, he's not even very, like, concerned with the fact that he lost whatever it is that he was, like, you know, in a trade of with this kid. He just cares that, like, he's been wronged and he got fucked over and he just feels disrespected, so he feels the need to take it that far. And yeah, like, Klover, essentially, he's just a piece of shit, man. He clearly has some level of authority in whatever underground, you know, that he's in, but, I mean, God, man, this nigga is just horrible. Many hours later, Klover, wearied from a day of harrowing escapades as per usual, arrived home to his sickly mother, his sword stained in the dried blood of many he forgot to clean. "Mother, I'm home. I've brought more gold for you." Klover says this as he opens up the door to his home. "Oh, Clovis, how great it is to see you, my son." "Is that so, mother?" Klover chuckled lightly. "You know, I've been getting quite a lot of praise from your co-workers lately. You could say I'm cleansing the world of all the evil people who may try to harm us." Klover says this wholesomely as he places down a large bag of gold. His mother stared at him as he brushed off the statement. "Co-workers," his mother paused. "In the work you do? You mean the crew of lapdogs you hang around so?" "Don't say things like that," his mother gulped. "Who exactly are you cleansing, Klover? Who is trying to hurt us? Don't come here with such nonsensical tales." Klover's mother stares intently at his sword as her expression changes. "How foul of you. Cleansing. On top of your foolishness, you come into my home with a weapon like that." "My home," Klover demanded. His mother scoffed. "Keep that outside, for Christ's sake. I'm sick and I'm tired and I'm bringing a sign of violence into our home, and like that, it's not helping at all." Klover quickly snapped and turned to his mother. "How isn't this helping? You don't know what a crazy man may come here unannounced. Hell, you don't even know the lengths I've gone to provide a roof over both of our heads." "Klover, you are that crazy man that you fear might harm me. You are unstable. I don't even know what to do with you anymore." Klover's mother begins to cough uncontrollably. "Mother, you are the unstable one, screaming and yelling at your own creation like he's some monster, completely unaware of what you're doing to yourself. There's nothing to be worried about. You wouldn't possibly know the first thing about the work I do." Klover's mother begins to calm herself down as Klover does the same and sits down. "That's the issue," she started. I don't know why I just said the fucking narrator's quote in a British voice. "I have no idea what you get up to outside of these walls. I feel like a damn guinea pig, completely unaware of what's happening around me. The least you could do is clean your sword. The blood is still fresh and it's dripping on my carpet. My carpet, mother." Klover fuck me. Klover snapped again. "This is my home. You're only living in it, and you dare tell me how to carry out my duties? I am a warrior. I will not concern myself with your trivial, useless worries." Klover let the message sit. "It truly pains me to see you having given up your barbaric manners of living. Even after all these years, you're still nothing like how I remember your father. He was kind. He held genuine care in his heart for others." She paused. "But you were always hurting people. It's like it fueled you. You get a hidden kick out of tormenting others. That sword you wield, it proves it all. I don't think I need to know what you do for work to know it's wrong. If you really cared for me, you would give up this lifestyle and live honestly. You're pathetic, Klover." Klover looks at his mother and scoffs. "Father is the truly pathetic one. Maybe he was always just Weak. A soldier like him shouldn't have been walking around worrying about others when he should have been worrying about himself. Protect the country, this sole loyalty to the king? Who the fuck cares about father's morals, mother? He was a weak man, and because of that simple fact that you just can't seem to understand, he is dead. His mother responded, even if he wasn't the man you imagined, I still love your father. You know, when it was time to put down the blade and start doing some good in the world, his nature wasn't barbaric. For the last time, mother, if I don't carry a sword, how can I show my strength? I can't protect myself or you without one, and you know that. If you love father so much, then maybe you should drop dead and die as he did. You can rot in hell with that piece of shit for all I care. His mother's eyes began to swell as she tried to speak, as she rubbed them gently. Klover, I fucking despise you. Klover was taken aback by the harsh comment. Someone who is truly strong doesn't need a sword to protect himself and the people he loves. I've always tried to reason with you and understand you, but I simply can't. All you warriors are the same. You're a disgusting, psychopathic hypocrite. Such an uncharted lust for battle and no moral compass. There's no such thing as pride for such things. Your father was a soldier. He protected, he taught, and he loved. And you've never had any of those qualities, Klover. I am protecting you, he cried. Klover struggles to build up a proper response. His voice broke fuck me, man. Each time he tried to speak up. You are still too young to understand, I see. Or maybe you just choose to ignore it. Klover's mother stands and slowly walks with her cane towards Klover. This is about to get heated, guys. But you are still my son. I still love you. I only want the best from you. This is simply not the best. Give up on your barbaric nature. Give up on the sword. Stay here and live an honest life for Christ's sake. You may not be able to use your strengths for good, but it's not impossible to let them go and be someone new. Klover looks at his mother with complete and utter resentment as he begins to produce an angry, toxic, and brutal frown. He aggressively pushes his mother to the ground. Who the fuck do you think I am? Klover took out his bloody blade and pointed it at his mother. This will never leave my grip. This is the path I chose, and you won't be the one to break it. Not even in death, mother. His mother stares at the gold, then glares at Klover sternly and begins to walk back to a rocking chair. You can keep your gold. I won't take riches from a heartless criminal. Everything your path meets will die. Klover turned away from his mother and put away his sword. Well, if that's the truth, and I don't care where my path takes me, the world will perish before it has my life and blade. That's the kind of warrior I am. He shuts the wood door behind him, and his mother began to weep. What am I doing wrong? What would you have done, Keijin? She thought. Keijin is Klover's father, by the way. I mean, that's self-explanatory. I feel like, you could use your context clues for that. Maybe I didn't. I mean, shit, fuck you, man. It's called overanalyzing Klover for a reason. I'm gonna overanalyze, all right? Klover never got to meet his father, and he didn't plan on learning any more about him. In truth, he hated his father as he grew older. When he was young, the thought of a protector, someone who answered to him, was respected by a king, someone who helped others, made him happy. Hopeful, even. But at some point in his life, he resented the idea of a soldier like his father. He thought helping others he didn't really know was meaningless. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter, because the person he did care about was the one who loved what he despised. His mother was the only one who took care of him as a child, and he understood from a young age that from birth he was always the way he was. The world he lived in was what helped him realize that. He'd steal from merchants and traders, and take whatever he could from whomever he could. As he grew older, this wouldn't change. He only got stronger and better at it. Acquired status in the underground that luckily snuck right under the king's nose and John's grills. It didn't matter to him as long as his mother could stay safe and well, because he loved her, even if she'd lost love for him. She was the only one he didn't have true spite towards. To him, people were just objects of his use so he could help his mother live. But this mindset is what halted his mother's life. Deep down, he knew he didn't much wrong, but he was too far gone. He thought this was how he had to be to survive. He didn't have dreams or goals for himself. He only wanted to help his mom. He'd been visiting her periodically like that for months since she began to show more and more symptoms of old age slowly but surely killing her. Klover tried everything he could, whether it be bringing in food or gold, but her condition only got worse. He was too infamous within the area he lived, so a nearby doctor he could trust was simply out of reach. Traveling at the time within or out of the country was impossible either. But one day, his mother died. Now, before I get into this next, segment, I guess, segue into this next part of the story, I want to explain kind of like what Klover's like work was that he was doing and shit, because you know he was having some motion, right? He was bringing home gold and shit to his mom, you know, giving her aid and shit, right? I would like for you to imagine essentially that most of the time that he was going through life, he was most likely just out in the underground, you feel me, and you know, making deals, you feel me, doing a little bit of maybe bounty hunter work, you know, doing a little bit of politicking and shit. I really didn't flesh out the underground at all because, like I said, it was a newer concept that I had thought of. If maybe, you know, it comes back around, maybe I'll flesh it out. Maybe I'll bring in some characters that are, you know, more prominent in the story that, like, maybe knew about the underground or that were, like, important in there and that, you know, but I don't think it matters too much. This was really just to establish Klover's character. You feel me? Like, he was a mercenary, essentially. You know, like, he wasn't like the top dog of this shit by any means, but I mean there really wasn't any top dog. It was just, you know, some people who knew more and some people who knew less, you know, like, and it was a lot of just natural selection going on in there. And as you'll see later, you know, the country that they're in is really underdeveloped, and the king doesn't really give a shit about trying to, you know, help out the people that are in, like, you know, the more poor regions of the, you know, kingdom. So yeah, I mean, Klover was getting away with a lot of shit, but you know, the people of the kingdom who were really tapped in, they knew what was going on. They weren't gonna let Klover around, you feel me? So he had to kind of just maneuver around in these different areas, and he just had to move really, really crazy, you know, to keep, you know, his mom afloat and himself, I suppose. But yeah, man, like, that's pretty much Klover's role in the beginning. Like, he genuinely, like I read here, he didn't really give a shit about himself, bro. Like, he just wanted to help his mom, but he was no stranger to giving into his desires. I mean, as you can see, he just left the goddamn house. Like, he stormed out, yelled at her, fucking pointed his blade at her and shit. Like, this nigga is a fucking maniac, right? He's talking about that his path is like nobody can get in the way with. Anybody that does is gonna die. Like, bro, he's out of his mind. He's genuinely out of his mind, and he keeps coming back and giving his mom aid like nothing happened, right? And there was like a plot line where I was like, oh, his mom has Alzheimer's or something. I kind of took that out a little bit because I'm like, man, I don't really know too much about that shit. But yeah, I mean, yeah. But I digress. Let's continue. Klover routinely came home once again with large bags of food and gold, but instead of seeing his lovely mother resting soundly in a rocking chair, he saw a much grimmer scene, a picture that was certainly unpleasant even for Klover. He showed no sign of shock initially, looking at the corpse, but Klover knew what the situation was. She was dead. No, she's not dead. She just passed out. A hangover, perhaps. Klover crouched down and turned her over, getting blood all over himself as his vision swelled. He saw stab wounds and small cuts all over, and it was truly a disturbing sight. Punctured areas were plotted across her entire body, on her chest, thighs, arms, neck, etc. I should have been here, Klover whimpered. I should have fucking been here! Who could have done this? What sick man would do this to a sickly old lady? Why did it have to be her? Did they know about the transactions? Did they know of the gold? Klover checked around the whole house to see if anything was missing, but everything was fine. No sign of burglary, at least. Did I say that right? Whatever. No sign of anything but a dead body. Why then? Why would they kill her? She never did anything wrong to anyone! Klover cried. After a few long minutes of crying and punching and ripping and yelling, he slowly calmed himself and took a good look at the corpse. He noticed a knife beside her. It sat It sat roughly near her hand that was cold and dry with blood. She killed herself? He sat there in disbelief. Was I not in her thoughts? Did she think nothing of how I'd feel? He knows. I'd never allow this. Why? He stopped for a moment and his anger broiled to the brim. You fucking wench! Don't you care about your fucking son? He yelled at the corpse in pain. Once again, he found himself crying and decided to accept the fact that all of this was more than likely all his fault. He was to blame. The only person in his life he really cared about was gone. What was there for him to live for now? When his mother died, Klover wished that would have been the day he realized everything he was doing was truly wrong. There needed to be a permanent change, but that simply wasn't going to be the case. It took a while for his actions to ever really hit him where it hurt so he could act accordingly. Change his mindset for the better. Change his life for the better. Now, though this is really early on in the story, guys, and this is like with a lot of things, I will pat myself on the back here. I'm going to glaze myself a little bit. But like with a lot of things in my story, I try and make things loop back into, later on and actually like matter and like be important and shit. Like this is a very crucial moment in Klover's life. Like it doesn't really get brought up very often at all, but this is like a crucial part of his backstory. Like his mom killed herself, bro. Like this fucked him up like a lot, right? When you're initially just reading and you're not really looking too deep into it, because I'm gonna continue reading and there's gonna be a little bit of a timescape, as you can see down there months later, right? Essentially it's like Klover's whole demeanor changes, man. Like the one thing that he essentially lived for took their own life, right? So like now he really didn't know what to do, bro. And so as you can see, he's kind of gonna lose himself, but not in the way that you would think. So we're gonna continue, and yeah. Months later, Klover was walking the streets of Jomsgrills, sword in hand, stood tall next to his partner, Richard, but not in crime. Klover worked for the king now. This was a year later after his mother's death. He had moved on since the incident occurred. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of give like little character design pieces of what these characters actually look like whenever they actually have a major character change, or like just character design change rather. Klover's hair here, his hair is like, noticeably longer. He's kind of like cleaner shaven, right? Maybe a little bit of stubble. He's got a soldier uniform on now. And yeah, he's very just like dead inside. That's kind of like the vibe I'm giving off here with him. He's out of it, man. He doesn't give a fuck about nothing no more. He realized how good his swordsmanship really was in a world where strength was the most important thing in a man's life. After dueling with so many men, he decided he'd try his luck with the royal King Dayton of Jomsgrills' army. Background checks were not very common practice around this time. Klover rose through the ranks quickly, never even really having to train. Now, he works directly under the king with his partner Richard. He was carrying out a mission to locate a teenage boy who was reportedly stealing from people around the area and openly threatened to kill several men and women if they didn't give what he asked for. He had a large bounty of 200 gold for anyone who brought him dead and alive. Dayton saw this child as a threat and wanted to deal with him quickly, so he sent his 2 best men out to finish the job. Right? It's very subtle, but Dayton's a coward. This nigga is a horrible king. You're gonna see later in the story as I come out with more episodes, man. Like Dayton is, he's very poor, man. This guy, it's astonishing to see that he's still got this kingdom up and running. But yeah, Rich, this kid, man, he reminds me of myself. I used to be a rascal who would steal and even threaten to kill so I could keep on going. Klover chuckled, sounding slightly disappointed in himself. I'm interested in the kind of person I might find him to be. How are you feeling about me and Rich? Richard pauses before he speaks up. I don't know. This kid just doesn't seem all that threatening to me. I've seen Dayton at lows, but this is low. Richard chuckled. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for bounty hunting, but he's a kid. What harm could he really be for us to have him set out for 200 gold? Richard laughed. I mean, come on. When I was his age, I could hardly wield a sword. And Richard paused. Normally, I'd leave something like this to you, but the money on display is too hefty to let an opportunity like this slip by. I'll say, if I gotta kill him, then I'll kill him. Richard laughed once more. No, Richard. I'll do it, if it comes to that. You don't need that kind of blood on your hands. Klover, you don't seem to understand the lengths I'll go for some cash. I've killed a lot of people for Dayton. To me, it's not about the money. I live only to serve now, Klover responded. I have no interest in this bounty. I just want to do whatever it takes to carry out my duties here as a soldier. So I could take the whole sum is what you're saying? Richard says with a large grin as he fucking chuckles. Man, I'm fucking up today. Yup, I've got no interest in it. I'm just wondering if a kid like this is worth letting live, man. Maybe he can change a man like me. Richard stares at the morning sky and looks back at Klover after he said this. You're a weird guy, Clove. You wanna know if he can change you? Nothing about you needs to change, man. You seem just fine to me. Just a bit gloomy at times. I'll tell you what. After we kill the kid, we'll have ourselves a drink of Jom's best. How's that sound? Richard laughs. Just loosen up a bit. Maybe that wouldn't be so bad. Should take my mind off of it. Klover thought nervously as he chuckled with Richard. So I'm planting some seeds here for, Klover's character change. I will say this is a little bit of a flaw here because we kind of jump immediately into a character change for Klover, right? But we don't really get to see much of how he actually is and how he's developed into this person, and it's more so just like he just is that now. And that's not really an issue within itself, but it's the fact that what we're gonna see later is very contrasting to how he's acting right now. And I will say this is one of the actual beginning flaws in my story that I don't really care to change, but I will acknowledge it. I was trying to make shit kind of deep and essentially Klover's whole thing is he's conflicted. He feels like this kid, he reminds him of himself. They're both paralleling here. They both fucking stole from people, trying to kill people, all this different shit. And Klover essentially sees this kid as a younger version of himself, right? And he's like, I want to see if anything's changed maybe with this generation. Is everyone here just a piece of shit in John's Grills, or is there maybe some hope for the youth here? Is there anything that I can do? Because essentially Klover, again, he doesn't really have shit to live for, but he does want to have something, right? He wants something, man, because he's just so empty inside. It's he doesn't want to go through life just fucking not having any kind of purpose, all his life he's been living and breathing to help his mom out. Now he doesn't have that. He's very lost, and he's kind of just going through an emo arc, you feel me? He's fucking Sasuke. So you can view it as a flaw, you can view it as just what it is, but yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. But we're gonna keep on reading and see where this goes. As a few minutes of walking through the town passed, Richard asked Klover a question. So, how exactly do we plan on spotting this kid? Oh, that's easy. The kid's sure to be robbing some little old lady by now. If we just keep walking, we'll find him soon enough. Richard thinks intently about what Klover said and starts, "Find him soon enough? How can you be so sure of that?" Klover doesn't respond for a bit. I mean, if I were him, I'd probably be doing something along those lines. Well, you're not him, Klover. We don't know what the hell he could be doing. He's wanted. We can't really think of him as just a child, as hard as that may seem. Klover gives no further insight. Mind you, even if we were to find this kid walking about, we haven't gotten our horses, and I've got no intention of having a foot race, mate. What did you expect? Klover, I expected you to have a fucking plan, you dumbass. The two stopped walking as the confrontation begins. We can't just keep walking around willy-nilly without even knowing where the kid's at or what he's doing. He may have even passed a moments ago and wouldn't have had a clue. Let me the bounty poster for a sec. Ouch, I thought the plan was quite brilliant. Klover chuckles. Yeah, well, it's quite shit. Richard snaps at Klover. Jesus, that old shit of a king can't even send his best men in the direction of the boys before they're sent off. I mean, to be fair, you never asked him where he might be. You just heard Dayton say what you'd be paid and you were full stop on board, Klover stated. Cut the shit, Clove. Let me take another look at this photo. Richard unravels the paper. Short brown hair, overalls, a backwards cap. Who the fuck raised this kid, man? Is there anyone we've seen so far that fits the description? Klover stares blankly at Richard. Rich, I thought the kid had blonde hair. Richard turns slowly towards Klover. How the hell are you my partner? You've got the skills for the job, but absolute shit for brains. Richard continues squabbling with Klover until Klover notices a small child with a cloak on and a giant bag. The boy glances at Klover as he walks past and quickly turns away, walking quicker than before. Richard! Hell is it now? Quit cutting me off, you sack of shit. I think we found a boy. What do you mean? Do they have blonde hair too? No, Rich, I'm certain of it. You see the kid with the cloak speed walking over there with the big bag? Yeah, what about him? It's gotta be him. Just look at their demeanor. And why else would they be wearing a cloak like that with a large bag? Even if it's not him, sure, he's sure suspicious. Oh, come off it, Clove. The hell do you think we are? That's fucking city council. We don't have any other leads. Would you prefer that we continue arguing like two shitheads, or do you want to catch the fucking kid, Rich? Richard began muttering to himself as he looked away and unsheathed his blade. Klover looked at the child and did the same as the two made their pursuit. Shit, I had a feeling it was them. They're on to me. I've got to find somewhere to hide quickly or I'm finished. This nigga, yeah, you're definitely finished. Klover and Richard were still walking quite slowly as they continued to follow the child. Damn, the little shit's really going, huh? Says Richard. Yeah, but he won't get far. The bag looks far too heavy for him to be carrying in the first place, Klover responds. Richard nods as the two begin to pick up the pace. I'm really trying my best to differentiate their two voices, bro. But, like, I'm getting it mixed up almost. Like, I feel like Richard's voice is a little bit deeper, definitely, like, harsher British. And Klover's is a little bit lighter, but it's hard to distinguish the two, man. Especially back to back. Like, this shit's tough. After a couple more minutes of chase, Klover's attitude begins to shift a bit. This kid is pissing me off. How long is he gonna run for? Look, we know who you are, and we haven't got the time to continue following you like this. If you just turn yourself in... Before Klover can finish, the boy begins sprinting away from the two. Damn, I really thought that might work. The two begin to give chase. The kid begins straining as he runs with the bag dragging across the floor. Eventually, the bag, it rips and tons of supplies and food come flying out. No! The child turns back, but as soon as he looks, he sees Klover and Richard looming over him before getting knocked unconscious. Jeez, why do kids always gotta be so difficult? Says Klover. Whatever. Says Klover as he unsheathed the sword. Bro, why did the text shit come up, bro? How do I fix this? Are we serious? Bro. Time passes. Where am I? The boy wakes up in disarray, and in front of him he sees Klover's devastating grin. Damn, how long have you been out for, bud? Klover starts. I was starting to think you had died. Richard sits down across from Klover and crosses his legs before Klover continues. You've been causing some trouble, man. You ought to apologize. Luckily for you, that's all you have to do. Apologize. The child looks at Klover with a confused look and scoffs. You're dumber than you look. Okay then. I sincerely apologize. Klover kicks the kid in the mouth before he can finish, and the boy spits out a tooth. Didn't think you were so naive. Klover started. When I say apologize, I mean apologize with your life. If you want to get out of here, you'll have to get through us. The boy shivers as he begins to stand. Richard scoffs after hearing the words come out of Klover's mouth. Just get it over with so we can collect the bounty and go. Oh, come now, let me have my fun. Your fun is fucking annoying, Klover. The boy reached into his pocket and seemed to be looking for something. Where is it? The boy whispers. Oh, are you looking for something? I don't want you getting the wrong idea. I'll give you a knife back, but if this is gonna be a proper duel, I'll need you to tell me your name, kid. It's no fun if you lunge at me and die without any last words. The kid looks at Klover with an uncertain look and says, I never agreed to a duel with you. Call me whatever you like, you sick fuck. Come on. It'll be a shame on whatever honor I have to duel a kid and I don't even know the name. Klover grins. The child stares at Klover with an intense look and doesn't say a word. Klover loses his grin and starts. I see. Well, let's get started then. Whatever you like. Here's your knife. Klover throws the boy a ragged and scratched up knife as the boy then proceeds to catch it with ease. Okay, kid's got a little bit of battle experience. He's not new to this, he's true to this. Klover grabs his sword off the wall and continues. Alright, now that we've got the introductions out of the way, let's start. Richard cuts off Klover. Clove, what the hell are you doing? You asked the boy his name without even giving yours? Oh, right. Klover turns to the boy, reaches out his hand and says, the name's Klover. The boy angrily looks at Klover and smacks away his hand. If this is gonna be a duel, let's get to it already. I've got no interest in conversing with the likes of you. Klover scoffs. You've got quite the mouth, kid. Maybe I should cut out your tongue first. The child stares at Klover with an angry glare. You enslave people like me. You kill us off and pretend it's simply sheep's blood being wiped off your hands. You're just a loyal henchman. Don't pretend you're justice. The child looks down at the floor and tightly grips his knife. People like you killed my mother. The only person who cared about me and helped me survive amongst you people here in Jom's grills. Why did she have to die, huh? The child continued. Was it because she was a slave? All she did was try to adapt to your way of living, and she paid the price for it. Look, kid, I don't give a rat's ass about your fucking mother. We've experienced pain you can't even imagine. If you want to hate me, fine, but don't act like you're above us. We're the same. The boy begins to whisper to himself. We're not the same. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that? I said we're not the same! The child aggressively swings his knife at Klover as he swiftly dodges out of the way. This is why I hate kids like you. We're exactly the same. I lived a life of crime just like you. If you live long enough, you're just gonna grow up becoming like me. I don't even care that I'm fucking up the sentences at this point, man. It's getting tragic. Klover says as the boy continues to swing at him. The boy snaps back. The boy snaps back at Klover. You don't even know me. You only choose to believe that because it favors your cause. I am not you. I am nothing like you. The boy stops swinging and takes a breather. If you people really wanted to change, you could change, but you're too afraid to. It's safer for you to stay the shitty way you are. I live like this because I have to. Klover kicks the boy in the side of his ribs, which flings him against the wall, making pieces of rubble from the ceiling fall down. Klover's arrogant, boastful, and cocky expressions turn into anger and spite at the child's words. Jesus, Clove, you didn't have to hit the kid that hard, Richard says with an annoyed look. Klover approaches the boy as the kid begins to cough up blood. You can't kill me, you know that, right? Klover gets in the child's face. Do you want to know why you can't kill me? Because you are simply too weak. You're weak and afraid. And weak people die here, just like a pathetic slave of a mother, and soon enough you'll die too. Klover raises his sword as he stands to his feet. You may be a kid, but you grew up here just like me. And that makes us one and the same. He's just another shithead here in Joms. Give me a reason not to kill you, and you may just leave here with your head. The boy stares at Klover in anger and looks down at the ground. I thought this was a duel, not a lecture. I'm not strong enough to kill you. I know that. At this point, I'd rather be dead. I don't want any more bloodshed. But it won't end with people like me. I don't even want to be around for the day this happens again. Looks like the criminal has surrendered, Klover says coldly as he lowered his blade. The child looked up with anger and tears in his eyes. Stop acting like this is what I deserve. All I wanted was a normal life. I never wanted this. I never wanted to have to kill anyone. Klover looks at the boy surprised, but then he smiles. Maybe the people here don't have to suffer the same fate as me after all, he thought. Klover's smile turned into a chuckle, which then turned into an outburst of laughter. So now he's essentially laughing like the fucking Joker. He's gone insane. The child raises his head and looks at Klover with a confused look as Richard does the same. Klover then proceeds to drop his sword in front of the boy. I can't believe how blind I've been. He turns to Richard and says, let's go. Richard looks at Klover like he stabbed him in the chest. Let's go? The hell do you mean, let's go, Clove? I don't know what form of enlightenment you just reached, but I'm claiming that value. Pick your fucking sword up. Rich, what's the point? He clearly doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want any of this. He's not the same as us. Of course he's not the same as us. He's a criminal. It doesn't matter how he felt when he stole from and killed people, because the point is those people are stolen from and have been killed. He's easy pickings. Why haven't you finished the job? Klover looks at Richard and continues. Look, Richard, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to live as a heartless warrior. I want to live as a human. I want to become a better man on behalf of my mother. That's what she'd want for. I want to live an honest life. Klover paused for a second and a little bit of a frown peeked through as he continued. A life without the sword. Richard looks at Klover unimpressed. So please just spare this poor child. Richard looks at Klover, then looks at the boy, and then he looks at Klover again. Clove, I don't know what the fuck happened, but you've gone soft. An honest life won't do anything but put you in poverty. It'd be putting a blemish on my honor to let this child or you leave here alive. I came here to claim a bounty. Richard stands up and unsheathes his sword. Kid, this is the last time either of us are gonna ask you. What's your name? You don't get to know that. You forget about me in the span of a day. I want you to live with this for the rest of your miserable life. Richard swings his sword at the child, but Klover steps in and blocks the attack with his sword. I knew it would probably come to this, Clove. I hoped it wouldn't, but I guess I have no choice but to change you as well, Klover says. Richard looks at Klover scornfully. What exactly do you mean by change anyway? Richard parries Klover's attempt at trying to overpower him with his sword, which in turn knocks Klover back on his side, Richard parries Klover's attempt at trying to overpower him with his sword, which in turn knocks Klover back on his side, while Richard takes a knee. Richard and Klover both pant before the two get up, and Richard continues. When you say you want to change, what does that even mean for you? You mean you want to give up on your blade? If you really wanted to change, you wouldn't have even raised your sword at me to begin with. Klover looks away from Richard as he continues. I don't want to fight you, so I'm about to give you a good example of why you can't just give up this path. It's not a matter of wanting to, you just can't. With those words, Richard turns his attention back to the child, and with a swift gesture of his sword, he strikes down the child, leaving him on death's door. Klover looks at this in shock. He tightly gripped onto his sword, and anger filled his mind. He struck Richard right in the chest faster than even he could process. Realizing what he did, Klover looks up and says, You could have moved out of the way. Why'd you let me? Richard cut him off. Damn. You're fast. I hardly saw that coming. People like us, we can't change, Klover. You can't dwell over the things you can't control. Warriors like us aren't cut from the same cloth. Richard looked at the child. He isn't dead yet. You know what you have to do now. Richard coughs up blood and continues. Finish the goddamn job. Klover gets up and pulls his sword out of Richard. Richard's lifeless body topples over and Klover turns to and slowly walks toward the boy. Look, kid. No hard feelings, alright? This is just who I really am. The boy tries to utter one last word but struggles and tries to get back up. You piece of shit. Klover's expression slowly grows heavier and heavier with malice and anger. Go fuck yourself. The boy's vision blurred as he looked up at Klover. Klover took a step toward the boy. I have nothing more to say to you. Klover beheaded him on the spot before he could finish. He grabbed the bag he had prepared and put the head of the unnamed boy inside of it. Looks like I'll be collecting this bounty after all. Klover looks at Richard's corpse. Don't worry, old friend. I'll be back for that drink we spoke of. So, now this. I'm gonna be honest, looking back on this, I don't really like this as much as I did when I was initially writing it. It's one of those moments, you know, in this story that comes up a few times, man, where it's like, it's trying to be deep, but it kind of just comes off as try hard. You know, like, why the fuck did Richard sacrifice himself in this scenario? Like, realistically, if I were writing this now, and, you know, I have a little bit better writing skills, but I'd still probably find myself in some kind of, like, you know, trap. Because essentially, like, I knew Richard is stronger than Klover here, right? So I'm like, okay, I gotta come up with some kind of cop-out so Klover doesn't fucking die. Because with the way that, like, Richard is, bro, he was not gonna just let this shit slide. Like, one way or another, like, Klover was probably gonna end up, like, either dead or in jail. And I'm like, with the way I want this story to kind of progress, I don't want that to happen. And I'm gonna be honest, there's kind of a lot of moments in this story where, like, Klover just gets a lot of cop-outs, right? Like, he's perceived as strong and all this different shit, and you're gonna see later in the story why that is, you know. But it's like, a lot of it is like honestly, bro, you could fucking label this nigga as a fraud, bro, with the way that this nigga be moving. I'm not gonna lie, right? Like, people like, oh, he killed Richard, but, like, bro, Richard literally sacrificed himself for the love of the game, honestly, just to fucking manipulate Klover into thinking that he literally can never change and that he's just gonna be stuck the way that he is. And even with that scenario in particular, with the way Klover was acting and kind of putting on this facade of, like, being this fucking terrible piece of shit, you know, to kind of get a rise out of the kid and see what he would do, you know, it's a little bit, like, far-fetched. Like, okay, is he really gonna be doing all that? But, like, you know, whatever. It's fiction, man. I don't care. Klover arrives at the king's palace. He's greeted by the soldiers close to headquarters who stood outside the tall doors that led to the king's room. Welcome, Klover. It seems like Kid gave you some trouble, didn't he? Yeah, a bit, but he couldn't put up much of a fight against me. Klover holds up the bag with blood still dripping out. Wow, you're one crazy bastard. Didn't think anyone would have the guts to kill him. The guard chuckles. Come on in, Klover. The other guard stops Klover before he can walk in. I understand you're eager to see His Majesty, but where's Richard? Klover looks at the guard intently. He was killed. What? Richard was killed? The guard says with wide eyes. Yes, it's quite unfortunate. He was snuck up on by the boy and stabbed in the side. I didn't have enough time to help him, and so he died whilst me and the child had our little scuffle. That's preposterous! How could he be killed by some kid? He's been working under the king for years and he's endured such battles. How could he be killed? That kid was stronger than we thought. We let our guard down and he got the drop on us. The guard quickly gathers himself, recovering from the shock of Klover's message, and gets back into position. Well, enjoy your stay, Klover. The guards open the large doors for Klover as he proceeds to walk in. Fucking dumbasses. The king sees Klover enter and kneel. Then he starts. So, have you completed your duty? Yes, Your Majesty. Klover holds up the bag and smirks as he raises his head. I see. I can finally rest safely.
Your compensation's over there. King Dayton points to the bag of gold and silver that sat to his left. Klover looks toward the gold and gets up to speak. Your Majesty? Yes, Klover. Klover pauses before he speaks up again. Are you going to ask about Richard? The king waits before he answers. I do not wish to know what happened regarding his whereabouts. If he has died, that is his own fault. Klover sighs and walks over to the goat as he continues his speech. Should have expected that answer from you. Klover chuckles. I can't say I'm not impressed with your work recently, Klover. You're more valuable than even Richard was. I want you to know that. Klover picks up the bag of gold and silver and places the head of the boy next to the king's chair. I loved him like a son. I haven't lost my heart, but I haven't lost my crown either. Until then, he's simply another tool. Klover ignored Dayton. To keep this country safe, I need to cut ties with the outsiders. Richard was not an outsider. It wouldn't hurt to shed a tear or two. Tears don't heal, Klover. Strength does. Strength is what will heal the law in this land, not tears. Klover looks back at Dayton and says nothing. He turns back around to walk out. Well, if that's all, I'll be on my way. I will continue to serve. Klover waves as he walks toward the end exit. I need to leave this cursed land. Normally, Klover during his free time would hang around the palace, but this time around, he made a rendezvous back to Richard. When he finally got back, he tried to forget everything that happened earlier that night. I've got drinks, Rich. Klover chuckles and sits down next to the lifeless body. He sets one of the glasses next to Richard. He takes a sip of the wine and starts, This is actually pretty good. You would have enjoyed this kind. It may not be your favorite, but, this may give Jonesville's best to run for its money. Klover laughs as he continues to talk. What do we have here? What a morbid sight, drinking beside a corpse. Klover slowly turns around and grips at his sword as he sits. And who might you be? I'm just a nobody. I happen to be passing by. The man grins. Klover looks at this odd man and begins to think to himself. This guy isn't some nobody. He definitely doesn't look like he's from here. The man walks into the room. His chains atop his boots that ran down to his soles clinked along the floor as he slowly approached Klover. There's no need for us to get hostile, right? The hell are you doing in a place like this anyway? Klover begins to stand with his drink in hand. Bad choice, Klover. It's quite roomy, isn't it? Klover says sarcastically as he laughs. Jesus, smells like shit. I suppose I should introduce myself nonetheless. The name's Wesgard. Pleasure to meet you, Klover. Wesgard reaches out his hand. How does he know my name? Klover looks at Wesgard with an unsure look but extends his hand regardless. Wesgard smiles and pulls out a revolver, shooting Klover's hand, knocking the drink out of his grasp as it spills. Shit! The hell is that thing? Wesgard laughs and starts. We call this thing in the far west a gun, pal. You're from the west? German English is quite good, to be fair. Klover takes out his sword and swings it at Wesgard, and Wesgard quickly pulls out his and parries the attack. As I like to say where I'm from, you shouldn't bring a toy like that to a gunfight. Are you implying my weapon is a toy? Wesgard laughs and says, That's exactly what I'm saying, Klover. Klover jumps back and begins to charge Wesgard as he continues to shoot the revolver repeatedly, and Klover blocks all the shots with his sword. Klover stops his pursuit and takes a minute to rest as he continues. Stop being a fucking coward and use the sword, you bastard! I don't think so, pal. You just blocked all my shots with that sword. If I let this baby go, I'll be toast. Klover angrily looks at Wesgard. Then I'll just continue to block. Wesgard laughs. Are you sure about that? Look at your sword and tell me that again. Klover shifts his gaze to his sword as he sees deep indents. Didn't that shitty king teach you not to take your eyes off the prize, Klover? While Klover is distracted, Wesgard shoots him in the thigh. Klover writhes in pain and takes a knee. Ah! Wesgard points his gun toward Klover and continues. Damn, Klover. I thought you put up more of a fight. Wesgard laughs hysterically. Klover tries to reach for Wesgard gun, but he steps back and shoots his wrist. Shit! I'm here on a mission, Klover, with many men who have guns even more devastating than mine. They may not be as good a shot, but they work under me for a reason. We're here to take over John's Grills in the name of the great George Frenches. To do that, we gotta take out Dayton's best warrior, and from the looks of it, that would be you. Klover looks at Wesker with sinister intent, and before he can say anything, Wesker continues. Lucky enough for us, Richard has been killed, so we haven't even got to worry about him. Apparently, from the rumors, he was killed by a child, so he probably wouldn't be much trouble in the first place. Klover clenches his blades in his hands and says, "The child didn't kill him, you dumbass." Wesker laughs. And who was it? A baby, perhaps? Klover sighs. No, it was me. Wesker stops laughing and gives Klover a blank stare. I don't understand. Frankly, I don't even care anymore. All that matters is two of our largest issues are about to be disposed of. Wesker puts his gun closer to Klover's head. Any last words, Klover? Klover pauses before he responds. Well, shit. I mean, if I'm gonna die here, I'd like for it to be by a blade. Your dying wish, huh? I'll gladly grant it for you. Wesker holsters his gun and draws his sword. He raises it in the air, and right before he strikes down Klover, he stops. Wait a moment. I just had a thought.
Alright, y'all, so that's the end of the chapter. As you guys can see, read that shit for about an hour. So, it's getting pretty late. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Regardless of if you did or not. I mean, you shit. Fuck. I don't know why I always do this, man. You're still watching the video. Why am I asking if you enjoyed the video? If you watched this far in, there's no way you didn't enjoy the video, right? I don't think that's possible. So, I mean, I'm still gonna say it, I guess, because I'll be polite. I hope you did. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I imagine you did. I hope, you want to see more of it. Regardless of if you do or not, I'm gonna give you more. You're gonna get it. I'm sorry. So yeah. That's chapter 1. After that, I believe it's chapter 1.1, and it's gonna get into just a continuation of what was going on with Wesker. He was like, oh, I just had a thought, all that shit. And yeah, I don't know how long this series is gonna go on for, because I don't know if I'm gonna be writing more chapters. It's been a while since I wrote a chapter in this story, but the lore goes pretty deep. There's a lot of different shit, if I were to continue writing this, that I would have to flesh out and get into, because bro, I had notes on this shit. I broke my phone and shit, so I don't really have those notes anymore, but still cognitively I've got an idea of how I would want the story to go leading forward from the points that I'm at right now. But we'll just have to see where things go. I might even maybe read up to the most recent chapter that I haven't finished, and then just try and finish it, I guess, once I get to that point. But I don't really know. I feel like I'm gonna end up rewriting it anyway, so I may as well just wait until you know what I'm saying. But we'll see how that goes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, I know I'm sounding redundant and shit, but yeah, man. Honestly, I'm happy with how that went. I know my reading's not the best, but I think it's fine. It's good enough, right? So yeah, I mean, that's really all I gotta say. And yeah, peace out, y'all.